Good morning, everybody, and welcome to what I personally believe is going to be one of our most impactful webinars in quite a while. The launch of TomTom Orbis Maps in Africa signals quite a critical milestone for us as MapIT and our long journey as a strategic partner of TomTom, which spans several decades. It's particularly special for me to be co-hosting members of the leadership team of TomTom here today as we announce the launch of TomTom Orbis in Africa. Very, very exciting for us. MapIT has been a distribution partner of TomTom for many years, serving the African telematics market, and through the telematics market, serving the fleet and logistics market. We've seen so many changes and so many challenges that needed to be serviced over that time. We're looking forward to sharing with you how TomTom, with their investments, are busy shaping the future of map making. And before I tell you any more about why I'm so excited about this webinar, particularly, let me introduce you to some of the leaders that are here, my panel, who are going to be taking us through this. I'm going to start with Ramchandra Kalaga, Vice President for Product and Strategy at TomTom. We'll be referring to him as RC. So RC, give us a nice big wave. Two hands, please. Two hands. There we go. So RC is going to be taking us through quite a bit of detail around TomTom Orbis. And we're going to be talking about so many things. And I think he's at risk right now. I can feel that he thinks I'm about to share his presentation with you. So I'm going to stop there. And then let me introduce you to Scott Brighty. Scott is a VP for Sales in EMEA. Interesting point about Scott, apart from being an amazing golfer, I believe, is Scott's been with TomTom for 10 years, 7 of which has been to support us as the African partner, which is phenomenal. So Scott understands the nuances of this market as well. And then last, but by absolutely no means least, the person that's making all of this wonderful impact locally relevant, Mr. Jonathan Houston, our general manager for MapIT. And we'll be putting him on the spot around what all this phenomenal global tech means for the African customer base that we so affectionately have been serving over the past 22 somewhat years. So a little bit about why I'm so excited. Firstly, in a report that you would have seen from Worldwide Works, published I think a few months ago, May or so, you would have seen the massive surge in online shopping in South Africa in particular, 30-somewhat%, 35% the year before that. So we're seeing truly exponential growth in online shopping. And that's also in the absence of full internet connectivity. There's still work to go around that. But close to 100 billion rand market expected in less than 2 years, by 2026. Now, that sounds phenomenal for the online shopping brands, but imagine the power that has on the logistics sector itself, not just for online, not just for last mile logistics. We'll be talking, by the way, today about the last 100 meters. Forget the mile, it's about the last 100 meters now as well. But online shopping boom means long haul also has a boom to deal with. Moving goods from our ports into the inland distribution centers, we're expecting that road transportation will be critical, will be put into the spotlight. The safety, the efficiency, all of that is going to become center to the growth that we're seeing. It's an underpinning the growth that we're going to be seeing, we're witnessing in online shopping on its own. And then, of course, you layer on top of that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is big for our continent, which is already starting and promoting the goods being transported across the continent, not just inside South Africa. Again, road is key. We know this. In logistics, road is key on this continent. So if road is key, it means maps are key. This is where the excitement starts for us, because over the past few decades in working in the sector, we've seen it. We've seen the challenges around proprietary maps. We've seen the challenges around minimal or focused coverage, missing coverage in so many areas. We've seen the challenges around points of interest. So all of these areas, we believe in what you're going to be witnessing today, the launch of TomTom Orbis Maps in Africa is going to start the entire journey of addressing this. And we're particularly excited about this as MapIT. So before I hand over to RC to take us through that, a couple of points. So the process today is we'll give RC 20 minutes or so to take us through the details of TomTom Orbis, some of the features, some of the changes, some of the statistics on how it's expanded from a coverage point of view, and then we'll be open for Q&A. So please, if you have any questions during the course of the presentation, just post them on the chat. There's a Q&A chat in particular. We're monitoring those, and we'll deal with those as soon as RC is done with the chat, the presentation itself. Any questions that we don't get to answer in the time that we've allocated, we will answer and share with all the attendees. And of course, the recordings will be shared with everyone as well. We'll also share an email address which you can contact if you require further information post this webinar. Fantastic. So RC, thank you once again for being here. I know this is your second time in the country, but more importantly, you're always there on the other side at some strange hours in the morning, given that you live in San Jose. So thank you very much for all the support you provided to our customers, to us over the many years now. Over to you to take us through the launch of TomTom Orbis Maps in Africa.
Cool. Thank you, Kamal. Thanks for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. TomTom is proud to bring Orbis Maps to Africa. So a bit of a background. So what is Orbis Maps? Orbis Maps is basically reshaping the industry. So by prioritizing interoperability and strategic partnerships, we can harness the power of both open and proprietary data to create a digital representation of the physical world at an unprecedented level of speed and accuracy not seen before. This is a very disruptive approach, and we are delivering unparalleled content enhanced by exceptional software, services, and localized support. Together, we are steering our company partners and customers into a future defined by excellence and innovation. So that's basically what Orbis Maps is bringing. So like Kamal mentioned, I'm going to cover a bit of the market evolution. So where is the industry going? Introduce Orbis and the concept behind it. A bit of safety in open data, because there's quite some open data available, which is one of the things we also harness in our systems. I'll talk about it a bit. And then finally, of course, we'll have the Q&A. So if we now look at the industries, right? So location technology is needed everywhere. There are many use cases that require some form of location data, ranging from electric vehicles to road safety to predicting more accurate ETAs for if you're running delivery solutions. And as technology and industries evolve, we expect more future use cases that will pop, and maps need to be ready for that. So if you look at a bit on electrification, it's all about achieving EV transformation by designing EV services that consumers can trust and locate EV services, real-time availability of services, charging stations, etc. If you look at vehicle safety, it's all about safer roads, more comfortable driving experiences, and automated mapping. And there's a lot of sensors that are also available in the vehicles now. Then there's software-defined vehicles, so the way the industry is transforming to deliver to the vehicle real-time adaptations and experiences, including safety updates to the vehicle. Better ETAs through predictive ETAs with machine learning AI. There's more things you can deliver, and customers can experience improved rider experiences, profitability, be able to predict better ETAs, and then the delivery solutions themselves. So if we take a look at a bit of the landscape currently, so what are the options customers have when you are looking for location tech? So there's no, you're going with proprietary map data providers, and each has its own pro and cons, or you're building it yourself, which is a very costly experience if you want to build geospatial data and stack for your applications, or you're going with open data, and open data again has its own pros and cons in terms of using the open data. So what this is resulting in is that the bringing together of this fragmented data sources is a very complex and costly problem that everyone is trying to solve for themselves, which is slowing down innovation. And the complexity that also comes with that is the interoperability. So once you are in a particular map system or in a map format or in a map model, it's difficult to transition if you want to move to a different provider or a different solution, and that is a challenge. So that is where we introduce the Orbis maps. So it's a new standard in map making. So while the market is evolving, there is also a huge amount of technology transformation that's happening. So we've seen in the last couple of years huge advancements in cloud computing, and cloud computing where you can have workloads that you can move from cloud to the edge or edge to the cloud. You can have hybrid computing. Second, we've seen is AI and machine learning has become mainstream, where you can really optimize the way you actually process and harness big data. Third is connectivity. So there's a lot of connectivity available in connected services where we are able to ship and port data from the edge to the cloud, process, and then push your updates back to the vehicle. Then four is computer vision, which has become mainstream. So you can now have a lot of vehicles that are fitted with sensors and cameras, where you have so many more eyes on the roads that are driving around, that are able to identify objects, be it traffic signs, be it road infrastructure, be it lane closures, cones on the road, etc., that you can harness in understanding the real-time situation that's happening on the roads. And finally, of course, and not the least, is the evolution of OpenStreetMap as a very good data source, globally available, where it's partnering with communities to build an open data. And looking at this, both the market evolution and the tech evolution, the challenge to TomTom was, okay, what should we do as a strategy, and how do we help and build this interoperable solutions so we can foster and foster innovation for our customers and ourselves. And that's how the interoperable maps from TomTom come into being. What this delivers is an interoperable solution in terms of specification and standards, where we are partnered with the leading tech companies, with Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, and TomTom, where we have formed an open source foundation called Overture Maps. This is a project under the Linux Foundation. And what the foundation does is mainly publish standardized schemas and models for digital data. And it also publishes data itself that you can use to build on top and use it as a base map. And this forms the interoperable nature of the map, where if you're able to reference and build systems that can talk to this interoperable map, you can actually build a more innovative solutions, because you are all that you're doing is building a layering solution on top instead of having to change the base map. So having a stable reference-based map enables that interoperability. That is in Orbis Maps. So if you look a bit on the data flow and the various data sources that go into the collaborative map making, if I start from the middle, where what you see is the Orbis architecture, the Orbis platform. So the Orbis platform is a layered version, continuous integration, continuous delivery platform, where we're able to bring in various objects and data types into layers. Then each change that you make is quality control, so we can manage the evolution of the layer. And then we have a continuous integration, continuous delivery process, where we can ensure cross-referential integrity across the layers, and then publish the data in various formats and go-to-market methods like map data itself, where you can build solutions on top, or APIs and SDKs, including delivering incremental updates and deltas. Now, this machine is fed by various data sources that go into it. So from the bottom to top on the left side, we use Overture Maps as one of the source, including OpenStreetMap data. Then they all form the base map, on top of which we bring our own proprietary data sources like GPS trip information, road data. This comes from TomTom's ecosystem of access, where we have more than 600 million connected devices that can give us real-time location from which we build various products like traffic services, etc. Then the sensor-derived observations. So this is basically observations coming from cameras in the vehicles that are piping this information to the cloud in near real time that you can use to detect change and then publish the change. Then we have our own survey vehicles fitted with LiDAR on cloud to collect point cloud data and a 360-degree camera that can bring images. Then there are a lot of acquired data sources and thousands of other sources that goes into the map making system. And this is how we fuse all of them and we build the best of open and proprietary data into these various data layers to be able to power and deliver our data. So if I look at this a quick use case view to the Orbis Maps, it's like I mentioned, it's a layered architecture supporting various use cases. It's supporting interoperable maps and the various applications like visualization, search, routing, traffic, ADAS, and EV. And a last one is a feature of the platform, because it is layered, is also to offer and deliver a solution about bringing your own data. So we acknowledge that no map provider can build and deliver map data layers across all the regions to equal detail, because there is a geographic level detail that and a region-specific data layers that every customer builds. So this is about bringing that data in a way where you can keep the data private, use the platform capabilities of continuous integration and delivery, and thus delivering an integrated map for any customers downstream to build your own systems on top, and this way reducing the complexity of map data management. So what does this deliver? This delivers the global map. So the product is now launched, I think, early this year. It is a global map covering more than 235 countries, and through this partner ecosystem, there are more than 5 billion eyes on the roads that are looking for changes, be it automated systems like cameras in the vehicles or manual editors that are making edits to the map, and our own tech that is able to detect these changes. So this enables more POIs, more roads that you get in the product, much richer visualization and smarter routing. So we using data from Overture, we're able to build this 3D visualization experiences, bringing rich visualization. Then it also delivers rich, powerful geocoding and search solutions with better addressing and points of interest in business listings. Then we are also, since it's a layered architecture, we are also adding our own proprietary data layers like lane level data, lane level traffic, that is bringing market leading navigation solutions via this map product to elevate the drive experiences with best in world traffic, and also the delivery. So this product is delivered through 3 different methods. One is as a map data itself. So this is delivered in a portable form. This is closer to OpenStreetMap schema. So if you're using any open source tooling, it's very easy to ingest and integrate this map format into your existing tooling. And the data is also curated and delivered through TomTom managed Maps APIs like display, search, routing, traffic, and also through web and mobile SDKs. So you can build your own driver and rider navigation apps, be it for telematics or for any other use cases. So in specific, if I look at now what this delivers for fleet-specific solutions, is if you typically look at the life cycle of a fleet business, you're looking at planning and doing like a trip pre-planning and scheduling your delivery routes. And then once you've done that, you're publishing those routes for your drivers to drive and deliver, where you're tracking those, the deliveries and the drop-off. And finally, as a post-trip analysis, the drive is done, you want to build systems where you can analyze the post-trip, compare with your planned itinerary, so you can have a closed loop to bring and understand the plan versus the executed trip to build and bring efficiencies to the overall solutions in a closed loop. So that's what this the solutions deliver. And then a bit on the safety in open data. So one of the key things in open data, what you would see is about standardization, consistency in the way data is captured, and the quality or vandalism of open data, especially if you look at OpenStreetMap. So what Orbis does is we build tools and systems where we have built a quarantine system and a self-healing process to quarantine and keep out vandalized or bad data, so that we obscure all the bad data going through the customers, and they get only quality control data. Second, we normalize and standardize, autocorrect all these open data, and then finally make it consistent and having a quality system that is able to check all the quality of the ingested data that we publish. A bit on the examples of some normalization. This is more an example saying if you're using OpenStreetMap, you're experienced how the tagging system is unstandard, and there are definitely more improvements happening in the open data, but we take that in and then we standardize all of that in the Orbis map. Then this is about a bit about open data relating to POIs. So when we looked at some of the data in open systems that we were processing, there's a lot of data in wrong location, the missing categories, wrong naming, out of business, etc. And this is the value that Orbis brings in taking that data, curating it, but adding a lot of value improvements on top. Finally, if you look at the roadmap, so where are we in releasing and launching this product? So we've done a global launch in May of this year, and our APIs are in public preview. By end of this year, we'll be launching a service called Editing Partnerships. This is where we will be exposing our master trunk to our trusted partners to edit the trunk of the map. This way, customers who have challenges and who are trying to do hot fixes in their own systems can actually make edits on our system, because this then propagates through our weekly releases that we deliver in this PDF format that I mentioned, or through APIs. And this way, you can have the freshest map for your customers and applications. And then there is truck restrictions that we'll be launching on the Orbis map by around Q2 next year, and then launching some proof of concepts on BYOD, the private layers for bring your own data that I mentioned, and then with a plan to go to market with the private layers by the end of next year. And based on this platform launch, there's an independent counterpoint research team that typically scores the various platforms, and they have we're proud to know and notice that TomTom has been ranked as a #1 in the location platforms. And with that, I end the introduction to Orbis, and then open up, give it back to you.
Fantastic, RC. There's not too many presentations that I want to see again. So this certainly is absolutely one of them. You should have started with that last slide, to be honest. So I see there's some questions that are coming through the Q&A, but I'm going to abuse my authority as the moderator, and I want to kick off with one or two questions first off. For me, I think it's always very important when innovations like this hit our country, hit our continent, we make them locally relevant because of the challenges that are unique in Africa, unique in South Africa. So maybe just take a moment, and John, heads up, this is also coming your way, but we'll start with RC. Just help me understand the relevance these things, the the innovations inside Orbis, the many extended points of interest, the inclusion of curated OSM, make it relevant for us in Africa. What's the big up for us here on this continent as a consequence of this?
Yeah. So there are a couple of things that this brings to Africa as a continent and South Africa as a country. One, the Orbis Maps delivers you a full coverage within the continent, but where prior to that, we did not have that. And more importantly, because of the fact of the interoperable nature, you can actually curate and create data layers that are custom to the region that may not be relevant in other parts of the world. And that's where the extendability of the architecture facilitates that. And being able to, having the curated data layers helps you build solutions that are very unique to this region and customize the solutions to this market.
Fantastic. John, do you want to add a bit to that? Does that resonate with your experience in the market?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's something that we hold quite dear as MapIT, and we've gone so far as to create a center of excellence around helping clients get onto the Orbis platform and experience it for exactly these reasons. It's highly relevant to the local market for the reasons you mentioned earlier around the Africa Free Trade Agreement, the fact that logistics sector by road is going to be critically important. We need to make sure that our clients and the rest of Africa can experience the Orbis platform in the right way. So part of our journey with clients is to help them understand how they can migrate their systems across, and then use it in the areas that we know are critically important. It's logistics, it's management, it's live vehicle tracking, and last mile logistics, most importantly, with the level of integration of the OpenStreetMap and the curated version of OpenStreetMap really adds to the resolution on the African continent, which I think is a great boon for how this kind of technology is going to influence the entire sector over the next few years.
Very good, very good. We'll come back to that curated OSM and data quality. I see there's a question around that there. But let's go to the Q&A panel, and there's an interesting question about the key differences between Orbis Maps and TomTom's previous mapping solutions. Now, I know you had a slide that showed that, but Asi, do you want to maybe touch on that just as a revision?
Yeah, so we currently have our own map stack, which is completely proprietary curated. And that's our current map. It's not a previous, but it's still current because we do still sell and license the data. The Orbis map is the best of open and proprietary data. So that's the big difference. And this results in coverage. So in our proprietary map, I think we had around 180 odd countries that were navigable in nature, whereas in the Orbis, it's now a global map with rich detail globally. And second, there's more community-generated contribution that we actually do also back to the community as part of our being part of the community initiative and building that interoperable data. And finally is the interoperable nature of the map itself. Because we work with the Overture Foundation, which is open data, we carry in all the stable IDs that Overture publishes. And the value that we build on top is the continuous integration and curation of all those open data layers. And we publish our data with those stable IDs. Right. So if you have your own custom data layer, you can very easily reference to these stable IDs. This way, you're not tied to any proprietary solutions, and which means that if you decide to move away from a proprietary map to build your own map, you can continue to keep these open data layers because these are licensed under open data licensing terms and have business continuity. So that's a big difference, and it's a very big industry transformation.
Good. Now that's very useful. I'm going to drop to that commercials question because I know that's been asked of us several times. But and this, I think, Scott, I'm going to ping this one to you. But how do the commercials work? I mean, if you're an existing MapIT TomTom customer when it comes to Orbis.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for that, Kamal. Maybe if I take a quick step back and just for those in the call that might not be customers of TomTom/MapIT at the moment, our commercial model, they're all use case and value based. So meaning we align our pricing to the most important business metrics of our customers. So a good example would be public sector. The use case would likely be connected to population sizes, whereas say a ride hailing use case would be rides and drivers. So ride hailing, just to expand, you might have customers with the exact same use case, same data set requirements, but the pricing will differ because one entity has 100 million rides a month and another has 10 million rides. It's very much the same way as an organization like Microsoft would have different models for customers with 10,000 employees versus 1,000. So we have standard price models for most use cases. There are custom options available if the opportunity justifies it. But back to the question on Orbis versus existing Genesis map, which is how we refer to our existing map. For those existing customers, the same rules would apply. Essentially, the same use case, the same pricing model will exist. So if a customer wants to jump between, it's an easy transition. I think the only difference is likely where they see more value. If they glean more value from Orbis because they take additional value add layers, for example, then of course you'd expect an element of cost adjustment for that. But if effectively, if it's like for like, same value, then the same model.
It's a natural transition.
Indeed, yeah.
That's powerful. With that comes the curated data and some of the other features that RC had mentioned earlier. I see quite a few questions, similar questions linked, RC, to curation of OSM data, but data quality. So again, you have touched on it, but how does TomTom ensure that data quality remains consistent at this pace? You know, we're talking about rapid updates weekly and or bi-weekly, and just maybe give some comfort around that, because in all the work we do, quality of data, understanding the source of data. In our country, we've recently had to deal with data sources being what's the right word? Unvalidated in some cases. So it's a big consideration here, ensuring that you're using data from the right source and at the right level of quality. Some insights into that, how you ensure the quality, and particularly when you're incorporating OSM, the curation of OSM.
Yeah, sure. Indeed. So one of the key values of Orbis Maps is the quality and curated data. So if I take a step back and recap the way we build Orbis Map, it's a layered architecture. So which means that we are taking open data, we are figuring out where is open data good and where is our own proprietary data good. We do this analysis by country, by region, and then we say, okay, for this feature, we have better data source than open data. So in that case, we don't use open data. We have our own proprietary data layer that we introduce that replaces the open data. And then we reference each of them to the base layer through these global stable IDs. So this way, there are certain aspects of open data that we take, and there are certain where we have our own proprietary layers. So it's one part where we maintain quality because of the proprietary data layers. We're not really bringing in everything from open. The second is, like I mentioned in earlier slides, open data has inconsistent data. It is there is a lot of I would say deduping that needs to be done, and there's a lot of noise that needs to be cleaned. So what we do is, with open data, we also have a lot of other data sources that we use to validate that open data. And if we decide to use that open data and we improve that open data, we contribute back all of that to OpenStreetMap with our own editors, and we have a lot of teams, and we put projects and tasks into MapRoulette where the community can ingest. So we do contribute back in case of we use the open data, but we do improve and do the contributions. So that's the second part, which is mainly cross-referencing the open data with other data sources. So we're able to validate that. And that is the benefit of the platform, which is the fusion of various data sources. These are almost like individual unique leads that you get on a specific object type. And being able to cross-reference them increases the confidence that a particular object or content is correct or incorrect. And then based on that, we publish the data. And I think in the data, we do eventually plan to also publish the confidence that we see for each of those objects. And finally is general quality rules. So we have quality rules in the system that says, okay, if you have a street name, is the street name continuous on a given street if it is running for a couple of kilometers? How about route numbers, or one-way information, turn restrictions, etc. And cross-referential integrity, which means you have a road network, you have addresses, or you're on the right side of the road, we do geocoding, etc. to test that. And lastly is user metrics. So we have a bunch of usability metrics that we measure on the usability of the map. As an example, for routing, there's a metric called turn-by-turn routing errors per hour. So that means if you're a driver on the road and you're driving, we measure and say, how many errors are you experiencing in a 1 hour drive time? And this is independent of the map. It is mainly a user experience-based metric, and our goal is to drive that down. And then we measure those metrics. We do that week over week because the product is released every week. We measure those trends, and we're able to push back all the errors that we see into our production systems through a feedback loop within the platform to improve them. And this is how we control quality in the system, in the data sources, and in the product we publish.
Sure, that's fantastic. That's a very comprehensive answer. I see we have just about 10 minutes left. Please keep the Q&A coming. I just want to go to Scott for a bit. Scott, this launch has been going on. Orbis has been introduced into the market now for several months. What's the initial feedback been? Has there been feedback? Has there been interaction with the end users, the market?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great question. I think, in short, excellent would be my response. Of course, we've been talking to customers and prospects for quite some time, years, in fact, in the lead up to this. But echoing RC's presentation, I think moving away from the proprietary stack to an open source setup is becoming the new standard.
Right.
So the majority of businesses we meet already playing with OSM to some degree, so it plays into TomTom's strategy very well. And I think we knew we were on the right track pretty early when the likes of Meta, Microsoft, AMS bought into this plan and paved the way for TomTom to join forces and become a founding member of the Overture Foundation. So I think the main feedback we get focuses very much on Orbis solving the pain of working with open data, enabling customers to combine their own content and combine that with TomTom's value-add layers. And having that platform based on open source data, as RC mentioned earlier, it just means you no longer develop yourself into proprietary corner, which I think really resonates most with our customers today.
Very good.
And if I can add,
yes,
on the technical side, what the customers realize and should realize is the geospatial industry is actually driving and forcing this change. And this is like, I've been in this industry for almost 25 years now, 30 years, and this is like a once-in-a-lifetime change to an open, interoperable system that drives innovation and flexibility and gives and offers more control to the core infrastructure over proprietary data systems if you're building a geospatial stack and it's core to your business in your applications that you deliver. So while some customers are key to migrate, a lot of customers also, with the technology evolutions continuously with the CTOs and the engineering leaders, are looking where are the technology trends and how do I scale my business and prepare for the upcoming technology evolutions. And in those situations, they are seriously considering the Orbis Map and Overture Foundation as a means to innovate. So if you're not joining the journey, you should join the journey.
Very good. So, John, just a question. I know it's come up a few times in interactions. You know, our customers locally have to transition, whether they're current customers or new customers. What are you doing in your team to support that kind of transition?
Great question. And as I alluded to earlier, we've set up a COE, a Center of Excellence, in our business, which is geared towards helping clients migrate. So the first part of it is understanding what their business looks like, what their technology looks like at the moment, and helping them draw the roadmap for what a migration looks like. We're intimately involved with what the data structures within TomTom Orbis look like. We know what the rollout map looks like for the next few months in terms of a product roadmap. And so we're able to work with our clients very closely in sketching out and hand-holding every step of the way as to how we migrate from either a competitor or from the TomTom Genesis stack Scott was mentioning across onto the new Orbis platform.
Great. Well, best of luck with that. Asi, I'm going to give you the opportunity to have the final say. I am particularly excited about BYOD. I think this is something, but specifically for mining organizations where they're private road networks, for public infrastructure like ports and railways. This could be quite a game changer on BYOD. We're speaking to a few organizations around it. What's your experience been? Where are the good use cases that organizations can consider applying this BYOD layer? What advice could you share with us?
Yeah, so bring your own data is a fantastic use case, but also addresses a very key problem that typically customers who are handling geospatial data would probably resonate well. So let me give a bit of context to that. So what is the current state of the business? The current state of business is if customers have their own geospatial stack, they're taking third-party data, they're building their own data layers because every business wants to differentiate. And as a result, you are curating some data layers that is specific to your use case. You're integrating that data layer with a base map, and then you're building downstream applications for your customers. Now, the challenge where this brings in is in two folds. One, when you get a new drop or a new release from your supplier, you have to redo this integration of your data with the base map because the underlying data has changed. And this is a complex geospatial process. Second, once you have a geospatial system and when you're dealing with your customers, there are always, no matter which map vendor you work, there are always map issues. And as a result, you end up doing hot fixes on your system. So when a new drop comes from your supplier, you not only have to reintegrate these data layers, your private data layers, you also have to reapply those hot fixes to your system. And this is a complex geospatial operation and that you need to do within your systems, needing a lot of engineering help and support. And this, as a value to your customer, slows down pushing fresh data to your customers. And often you end up customers only doing a map refresh once in every 3 months. And if you're really good, you go to once in a month. Really going to once a week, daily updates, 15-minute increments tells us this is a very complex problem to scale. What BYOD does as a solution is simplifies all of that. So if you have a data layer, then since we have built the CI/CD platform, we can onboard the data to the platform. We can use the platform-enabled CI/CD capability in the quality system. Keep that data continuously integrated. So how do we do that? We reference your data to the base map. We create those references, and we are able to continuously check the quality of that referential integrity between the data layer to the base map. And the moment that is broken, we can send out an alert, and we create a queue system where you can subscribe to see that, hey, this feature that I referenced is no longer relevant because the underlying data changed. And you can quickly react to that. And once the reaction is done and you commit the conflict or the detected conflict and you resolve the conflict, you now have a completely integrated map that you can very quickly publish to your customer use cases. So as an example, a layer can be your own custom POIs. If you're running a fleet business and you have your own custom truck stops, you can bring that. You have your own curated delivery points, you can bring that as a layer reference to the routing network. So if you're now trying to geocode and route to that, you can enable through this. Or you have custom route restrictions. So which means legally you can drive on all roads, but for your fleet, based on your risk of your fleet and hazards that your fleet is experiencing, you may say, I don't want my fleets going on these roads, or I don't want my fleet to take a left turn at this junction. It's a custom override of a legally permitted routes, and that is something you can maintain as a BYOD layer. And this is unique to you. It doesn't get propagated to other customers, and this gets integrated and delivered to your customer. So this is a very powerful capability that offers not only managing geospatial data, enables a capability for technology and use case extensions and an architecture extension to new use cases that you probably cannot think of now. You may decide later on, hey, I want to have a layer of potholes. You can easily bring that on board. I want to have a layer of the delivery or risk area. Sure, you can think of a use case, you can enable that.
Right.
Because what we think is we will not be able to curate and build a data for all layers, but we can enable customers to build that.
Fantastic.
So that is BYOD. And then maybe just closing from my side from the technology, Orbis, and where the market is evolving. Open data is here to stay. Standards is here to stay. And Overture has started that initiative and that momentum. So I would seriously encourage you to check it out, overture.org. That's where the open data is. Talk to MapIT, who are regional partners here in Africa, who are enabling customers in Africa of this global launch of Orbis Maps. Or you can also, if you have any questions, you can reach out to them, and then we can help you in this transformation. If not today, you should seriously evaluate. And if you're a CTO or an engineering lead, at least think about it. Don't ignore it, because this is a once in a lifetime change, like I mentioned.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this webinar. I think from our perspective, what we're excited about, all that you've heard, all that you've interacted with the panelists, fleet and logistics is a tough industry on its own in Africa, in South Africa particularly, and to have a reliable, open, interoperable, complete map is just making a tough industry that much easier. That's why we're so excited. We think we can add and will add significant value to our customers and their customers. So please, there are the contact details right there. Jonathan is ready, waiting for your call or info@MapIT. Please reach out to us should you need anything else or would like to have trial access to Orbis to understand its features and functionalities that could be of relevance to you and your customers. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.